weapon. Selfless service across the land. This brand of service is most evident in the fields of battle. In more subtle, often unheralded ways, that drive to serve is changing lives in areas with the direst of needs. The patriots who deliver this singular brand of service, the Philippine Army. The Philippines' first military organization began in Tejeros, Cavite in 1897. Under the kataas-taasan, kagalang-galangan, katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. With General Artemio Ricarte as the Army's first commanding general. Fighting for freedom, the Philippine Army proudly, defiantly raised its banner against overwhelming odds, against the Spanish colonizers, during the Filipino-American War, and in World War II. Since the 1950s, the Philippine Army has taken on much of the load in warding off insurgents and secessionists who would seek to undermine the security and territorial integrity of the Republic. Beyond country borders, combat and non-combat units of the Philippine Army served in the Korean War, the Vietnam conflict, and in various UN peacekeeping missions. Decades of continuous action in the battlefield have honed the Philippine Army into one of the most seasoned fighting units in the world. On the other hand, vast experience outside the battlefield has made the Army keenly adept in the larger struggle for hearts and minds, making it a well-rounded organization in the service of the nation. Today, the Philippine Army marches on, accomplishing the service of conducting prompt and sustained ground operations to support the overall mission of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. As mandated by the National Defense Policy, the Army, along with the rest of the AFP, takes on a purely defensive and non-aggressive posture, actively seeking peaceful, harmonious relations with other nations and adhering to preventive diplomacy for preempting the outbreak or escalation of conflict that can adversely affect national and regional security. Guided by its mission, the Army has evolved into a multifunctional force that can carry out tasks for both defense and development. To answer the call to country service, the Army's various units perform a myriad of duties. Foremost among its defensive military roles, the Army conducts all-weather, all-terrain ground operations, using a broad arsenal of weapons suited to local conditions. Backed up by vital reconnaissance and intelligence support, as well as intensive special operations. Support units ensure the main combat units are able to perform their tasks. Engineering and construction units provide the infrastructure needed for both military and non-military use. Communication systems and facilities link the individual units to each other for efficient coordination of resources. Service units provide further logistical support for operations. These services involve material storage and inventory, doctrine training, information technology development and application, security and escort services, finance-related services, and the development of reservists for operational readiness. The forces are strategically deployed to provide service for the whole country. In northern Luzon, the 5th Infantry Division, which had been organized to dismantle dissident strongholds, continues to protect communities in the region. In central Luzon, the 7th Infantry Kaugnay Division, stationed at the largest military reservation in the country, watches over some of the Philippines' most vital industries and installations. The 2nd Infantry Jungle Fighter Division, which has traditionally kept watch over the National Capital Region, now defends the southern Luzon area as well. The 3rd Infantry Spearhead Division, in keeping with its proud tradition during the counterinsurgency campaigns, continues to hold the shield for Western and Central Visayas. The 8th Infantry Stormtrooper Division guards Eastern Visayas. Highly regarded for improving peace and order in Samar, the 8th Infantry Division also aids in carrying out development programs in the region. The 1st Infantry Tabak Division served under the UN command in Korea, trained units for Vietnam, and manned the front lines against southern secessionists. The 1st Infantry Division now defends western Mindanao. Activated to stem the upsurge of the secessionist movement in the early 1970s, the 4th Infantry Diamond Division is the primary vanguard against insurgents and dissidents in northern Mindanao. The 6th Infantry Campilan Division, which played a vital role in breaking down communist-infested sanctuaries in its area of responsibility, stands guard over central Mindanao. Providing combat support to these infantry divisions are 2 units. The Special Operations Command, composed of the Special Forces and the Scout Rangers, undertakes non-conventional warfare operations, while the Light Armor Brigade shields the troops and unleashes lethal firepower on the front lines. Of the service of every Filipino across the land. The country's history is bannered by men who have sacrificed self for country. These are the men of the Philippine Army. Whether faced with the threat of war or the challenge of nation building, the Philippine Army has come to personify service through the years across the land. In defense of the country, men of honor, duty, and valor stand in the front lines, ready, able, and willing to lend their heroic brand of selfless service. These are the men of the Philippine Army, at your service across the land. Today, the Philippine Army faces a daunting challenge. Applying its resources to help bring remote communities to life, the Army is once more at the front lines, doing its share to build a nation. The Philippine Army, at your service across the land.